it's terrible. Shame on the United States. This infrastructure is as essential as water and electricity. If you don't have internet access in your home, you don't have a fair shot at 21st century education, healthcare, economic opportunity, all of it. And it needs to become a national imperative to get everyone online. And it's especially chilling to me right now that there are so many kids who fall into this homework gap, who are locked out of the digital classroom. And with this pandemic still raging and schools still closing, we have got to figure out how to address that homework gap. It's essential for the future of our children, our communities, and really our country.
What happens to the person who can't do telehealth with their doctor because they don't have access to it? It's mental health, it's educational health, it's physical health. It is everything you can conceive of. We can do some amazing things unless we can't. And for far too many of our fellow Americans, we can't. And the reality is, we're losing hundreds of billions of dollars of economic opportunity. We're losing millions of lives. And the investment we'd have to make to offset the billions of dollars we're losing is relatively small.
I guest lectured at Columbia last year, and I was talking about the SDGs, and I called them sexy. And it's weird to think of them as sexy, but I think of them as one of the most incredible things ever, because I don't think any time in the world's history has 193 countries agreed on the same thing at the same time. And that's what you get with the SDGs. So that's why for sustainable partners, that's what we use as our framework.
We set out this roadmap, which really looks at sector by sector. How can digitalization, dematerialization, and connectivity, really get that traction? And as an industry, the ICT industry is responsible for 1.4% of global emissions. But by deploying our technology across the transport sector, the manufacturing sector, the agriculture sector, we are able to help reduce by 15% of global emissions. So that's a 10 times enabling effect, which I think is, it is so powerful.
Why don't we all come together and write a joint report which tackles the root of the problem, that is the ecosystem which doesn't work. What I'd like to see is that every one of the recommendations in that report, they get met. And a total, there are 140 plus recommendations. And we want to make sure all of them are met, because if they are met, we can achieve the SDGs by 2030. If they are not met, we'll probably achieve them by 2094. And that is the current prediction by the Social Progress Index Initiative.
If they have abstracted information that is de-identified, they can actually make a lot of great decisions, as I'm kind of alluding to with this idea of being able to understand your risk day to day. But the problem with that is that how is the employee going to hand over all of that information to the employer? That actually breaks a number of laws about what an employer can ask, what the employer can know. So actually, we, as an intermediary here, have a HIPAA compliant cloud. We're capturing the data from the employee perspective. We are only showing what is actually legally allowed to the employer, but it's largely aggregated, de-identified, and then given back to the employer from an actionable perspective of, okay, here's the increase in symptoms, here's your increase in risk. Having that kind of intermediary there is essential for giving the employer the information they need, but from the employee perspective, feeling like I'm coming into work in the safest way possible, but I'm also coming in without revealing every little thing to my employer in a way that feels awful.